Okay, everybody, welcome back to the channel Rockin' Dr. Rocks and the weekly energy update. So let's get to the charts today, and let me give this a quick update. We're starting with oil price, WTI crude, so that's West Texas Intermediate. It is at 91.07 a barrel, down 3.55 today. If we go look at the month, you can see that the high was kind of at the beginning of July, over a year. Of course, remember back a year ago it was $70 a barrel, then it went up, and now we're coming back down again. So that's good. That has had an effect on gasoline prices. Right now, refined gasoline is $2.19 a gallon. You can see, of course, that that's come down, tracking the decrease in the WTI price as well. So good news there. We'll keep an eye on that, and hopefully we'll be able to afford more gas and drive around and go on vacation and do those types of things. Okay, rigs running in the US this week. There's been a change of 9. 6 of those are oil rigs, 2 are gas, and then they have 1 listed as a miscellaneous. So that is up 9 over the previous week, and 767 is up from 488 at this time a year ago. So the activity there has continued to increase slightly each week. Okay, frack spread this week, +5 on the fracks. So again, these are what are called duck wells, DUC, drilled but uncompleted. And so then the frack goes in at some point after the well has been drilled and completes the well and brings it on to production. Okay, so if we look at the refinery inputs and utilization for the past week, this chart again tracks through the previous 6 weeks, and so here it goes from the end of June to July 29, and past week 15.838 million barrels per day produced, and that's down from 16 previous week, 16.3, 16.6. So this is the low production over these past 6 weeks. Okay, so if we look at current stocks, and this again is week ending 7/29 compared to last week and then a year ago. And so crude oil stocks 896.4 million barrels in stock. Again, those are barrels of oil that have been produced and that are sitting in storage facilities, refineries, and those sorts of things, maybe even tankers off coast and things, waiting to get moved into refining. Okay, total motor gasoline last week, 225 million barrels. And let's see, what do we want to look at? Carojet, about 42 million barrels of Carojet, 109 million barrels of distillate, so diesel fuel. The bulk of that, about 100 million barrels, is the low sulfur, which is highway diesel, and then about 10 million barrels of the higher sulfur content, that is the farm fuel. Okay, and so we are sitting not a lot of change in here. Some of the changes in the diesel over the past week, but most of the things are pretty consistent. Okay, so I think we want to jump to the summary then for July 29. So crude oil refinery inputs averaging just under 16 million barrels per day, which was 174,000 barrels per day less than the previous week, which was July 22. Refineries operating at 91% capacity. Gasoline production decreased last week down to 9.3 million barrels per day. Distillate fuel production also decreased last week, averaging about 4.9 million barrels per day. In light of all of that, U.S. crude imports increased by 1.2 million barrels per day from the previous week, up to 7.3 million barrels per day. Crude oil inventories increased by about 4.5 million barrels from the previous week and stand at 426.6 million barrels. This does not include the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and these figures are about 7% below the 5-year average for this time of year. So we'll keep looking at that week to week and get an idea of if things are continuing on a decrease or if they're just fluctuating seasonally and they come back up, meeting demand and those types of things. So that will do it pretty much for a quick status of what the industry is doing over the past week. I have been looking at a shale play each week. We started the first week with the Bakken Shale up in North Dakota. Last week we looked at the shale plays in Powder River Basin, and this week I decided let's go down to Texas and let's look at the Eagleford, which is a Cretaceous shale that swaths through southern Texas. Okay, so in the Eagleford, that's these counties down here, there's a total of 72 rigs running. They picked up 2 rigs over the past week. About 99% of those rigs, so all but one, are drilling horizontal, and 87.5% for oil, and then 12.5% for gas. And these gas wells are pretty deep, greater than 15,000 feet. So just to highlight again, we've been talking about the shale plays and this concept of horizontal drilling. And again, you can go back to the first introductory video. I talked a little bit more about horizontal drilling. I may do a separate episode on horizontal drilling and kind of go through and define what it is, how it works. But that started back in 2008, 2009 is when the concept was being worked on and the tools were being developed and the concept was being proved out. And again, this is really commensurate with what we saw both in the Williston Basin and in the Powder River Basin, that about 2010 is where we start seeing an increase in wells. So this is the Eagleford Shale drilling permits, and we were down to 94 in 2009, then over 1,000, then over almost 3,000, 4,000, up to 5,614. So this was the main period of activity. This was very, very active in oil field across the U.S. And there were plenty of jobs. There was inundation of infrastructure in most of these areas because the industry grew so fast. And then at the end of 14, there was kind of a basic crash, and you can see in the Eagleford, they were able to pretty much maintain their drilling at around 2,000 wells or permits per year through 2019, and then it went down to about 1,000. This year so far, 733. Okay, so that will sum up this week's activity. If you like this content, give it a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe, please. Share this with your friends. If you have seen wacky prices or experienced something, put a comment down below and I'll try to answer that. So thanks for watching. See you next week.